The stars had always been silent. For thousands of years, humanity looked up at the night sky and wondered if they were alone. They built telescopes, sent probes into the void, and dreamed of meeting other intelligent life. When first contact finally came, it was not with peaceful explorers or curious scientists. It came with warships that blocked out the sun. Supreme Commander Zethrak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the blue planet grow larger in the viewing screen. His four eyes blinked slowly as he studied the primitive world below. Earth, a small rock orbiting a medium-sized star in an unremarkable corner of the galaxy. The Kethrani Empire had conquered over 200 worlds in the last 1,000 years. This would be number 201. The intelligence reports had been clear. The inhabitants of this world were young, divided, and technologically inferior. They had only recently discovered space travel. Their weapons were crude. Their ships were slow. They had no idea what was coming for them. Zethrak allowed himself a rare smile. This would be an easy victory. The Kethrani fleet consisted of 300 warships. Each vessel was the size of a small city, armed with plasma cannons that could melt mountains and shield generators that had never been breached. They had crushed civilizations far more advanced than these humans. The Empire had sent Zethrak because he was efficient. He never wasted time. He never showed mercy. Worlds either surrendered immediately or were reduced to ash. As the fleet entered Earth's solar system, Zethrak ordered his communication officer to broadcast the standard message. It was the same message they had sent to every world they conquered. Surrender. Submit. Become part of the Kethrani Empire or face complete destruction. The message was transmitted on all frequencies, in every human language their translators had decoded. Then they waited. Admiral Chen Wei stood in the command center of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. She was 63 years old, with gray hair cut short and eyes that had seen too many wars. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at their stations, tracking the alien fleet that had just appeared in their solar system. The message from the aliens played on the main screen. Submit or die. Chen Wei had heard such threats before, though never from beings that came from the stars. She had spent 40 years preparing for this moment, not because she knew aliens existed, but because she understood one simple truth about the universe. If intelligent life was out there, some of it would be hostile, and humanity needed to be ready. The United Earth Imperial fleet had been built in secret over the past 5 decades. After the resource wars of the 21st century nearly destroyed civilization, the surviving nations had united under a single government. They had learned hard lessons about what happened when humanity fought itself. They had also learned that strength was the only language that aggressors understood. Chen Wei picked up her communicator and spoke calmly. All fleet commanders were ordered to their stations. Operation Iron Sky was now active. The time for hiding was over. Zethrak waited 3 hours for a response to his ultimatum. When it finally came, it was not what he expected. Instead of a groveling surrender or desperate pleas for mercy, he received a simple video transmission. A human female with cold eyes stared directly into the camera. She spoke in a language his translators quickly decoded. The Admiral informed the alien commander that Earth was under the protection of the United Earth Imperial fleet. She advised them to leave immediately and return to whatever dark corner of the galaxy they had crawled out from. If they did not, humanity would send them back in pieces. The bridge fell silent. Zethrak's officers exchanged confused glances. In 1,000 years of conquest, no species had ever responded to the Kethrani Empire with such defiance. It was almost amusing. Zethrak ordered his tactical officer to analyze the human defensive capabilities. The report came back quickly. The humans had a small fleet of approximately 500 ships. Most appeared to be stationed around their planet and its single moon. The vessels were smaller than Kethrani warships, and their technology seemed inferior. primitive fusion reactors, chemical propulsion systems, simple kinetic weapons. Zethrak laughed. The sound echoed through the bridge, cold and cruel. These creatures were brave, he admitted. Brave and stupid. He ordered the fleet to advance. They would destroy the human ships first, then bombard their cities until nothing remained but glass and ash. The Kethrani fleet moved toward Earth like a swarm of metal locusts. 300 ships in perfect formation, shields raised, weapons charged. They expected token resistance at best. What they got was something entirely different. The first sign of trouble came when they passed the orbit of Mars. Long-range sensors detected massive energy signatures emerging from the red planet's surface. Zethrak frowned. The intelligence reports said nothing about human installations on Mars. Before he could order a scan, the space around his fleet erupted with light. Weapons platforms hidden beneath the Martian dust came alive. Hundreds of them, each armed with railguns that fired tungsten slugs at a fraction of the speed of light. The projectiles slammed into the Kethrani shields with devastating force. Shields that had never been breached flickered and failed. Ships that had conquered worlds exploded into clouds of debris. In the first 60 seconds of battle, the Kethrani lost 40 ships. Zethrak roared commands at his officers. Return fire. Destroy those platforms. But the human weapons were fast and accurate. Every time his ships targeted a platform, 2 more opened fire from different positions. The Kethrani formation broke apart as captains tried to avoid the deadly projectiles. Then the human fleet arrived. They did not come from Earth. They came from everywhere. Ships emerged from the asteroid belt, from hidden bases on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, from stealth positions throughout the solar system. 500 ships became 2,000, then 3,000, then 5,000. Chen Wei watched the battle unfold from her command center and allowed herself a small smile. The aliens had made the same mistake every enemy of humanity had made throughout history. They had underestimated their opponent. They had looked at humanity and seen a young, divided species with primitive technology. They had not seen the truth. Humans were survivors. They had crawled out of caves and conquered their world. They had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. They had split the atom and reached for the stars. Every challenge they faced only made them stronger. Every enemy they encountered taught them new lessons. And the most important lesson was this: never show your true strength until the moment you strike. The United Earth Imperial fleet was not primitive. It was simply hidden. For 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this day. They had built ships in secret, developed weapons in hidden laboratories, and trained crews for a war they hoped would never come. The ships the aliens saw around Earth were decoys, old vessels meant to fool any observers. The real fleet was something else entirely. Admiral Chen Wei's flagship, the UEI's Defiance, led the charge. It was 2 kilometers long, armed with weapons that made the alien technology look ancient. Antimatter torpedoes, particle beam cannons, shields powered by artificial singularities. Humanity had not been idle while watching the stars. The battle became a massacre. Kethrani ships that had never known defeat were torn apart by weapons they could not understand. Their shields were useless against antimatter warheads that detonated inside their hulls. Their plasma cannons could not track human fighters that moved too fast to follow. Their proud formation became a scattered mess of burning wreckage. Zethrak watched in horror as his fleet died around him. This was impossible. These humans were supposed to be primitives. They were supposed to bow before the might of the Kethrani Empire. Instead, they were hunting his ships like predators culling a herd. A direct hit from a particle beam cannon tore through the Eternal Dominion shields. The bridge shook violently. Warning lights flashed. Officers screamed as consoles exploded around them. Zethrak gripped his command chair and stared at the viewing screen. The human flagship was heading straight for him. Admiral Chen Wei's voice came through the communication system. She spoke calmly, without emotion. She told the alien commander that he had come to Earth looking for slaves. He had found something else instead. Humanity did not kneel. Humanity did not surrender. Humanity fought, and humanity won. The final battle lasted only 20 minutes. When it was over, the once mighty Kethrani fleet had been reduced to 200 ships. Half of them were too damaged to fight. The others were surrounded, their weapon systems disabled by precision strikes. Zethrak was brought before Admiral Chen Wei aboard the Defiance. He stood in chains, his 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Never in his long life had he imagined such total defeat. He demanded to know how this was possible. How could a species so young, so primitive, have such power? Chen Wei looked at him with something close to pity. She explained that humanity had learned a simple truth long ago. The universe was not kind. It did not reward the weak or the peaceful. It rewarded those who prepared, those who adapted, and those who never gave up. Humanity had been fighting for survival since the first human picked up a rock and faced a predator. They had simply gotten better at it over time. She told the alien commander that he would return to his empire with a message. Earth was not alone. Earth was not weak. Earth was protected by a species that had survived everything the universe had thrown at them. And if the Kethrani Empire ever returned, they would not find a few thousand ships waiting for them. They would find millions. Zethrak was released along with the surviving ships. They limped out of the solar system, their pride shattered, their empire's reputation destroyed. Word would spread across the galaxy. Earth was not a world to be conquered. Humanity was not a species to be enslaved. In the weeks that followed, Chen Wei received reports from deep space probes. The Kethrani fleet had returned to their empire. Their communications were filled with warnings and fear. The humans were dangerous. The humans were not to be touched. The humans were something new in the galaxy, something terrible and wonderful at the same time. Other species began to take notice. Some sent diplomatic envoys, seeking trade and alliance. Others stayed far away, afraid of what humanity might do if provoked. The galaxy had a new power, and the stars would never be the same. Admiral Chen Wei retired 3 years later. She spent her final years on a small farm in northern China, watching the sunset and thinking about the future. Humanity had passed its first test. They had faced the darkness of the universe and emerged victorious. But she knew this was only the beginning. There would be other challenges, other enemies, other battles to fight. She was not worried. Humanity had proven something important that day. They were not victims. They were not prey. They were conquerors in their own right, masters of their own fate. And any species that came for Earth would learn the same lesson the Kethrani had learned. Humanity did not run. Humanity stood. And humanity won. The stars were no longer silent. They whispered a new name now, a name that echoed across the galaxy. Earth, home of the humans. The species that sent an empire running. The species that feared nothing and prepared for everything. And somewhere in the void, other species listened and learned. Some with hope, some with fear. All with a new understanding of their place in the universe. Humanity was watching. And humanity was ready.